And we are live. Fantastic. Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm going to go ahead and check some settings real quick. All right, looks good. Audio looks good. If anybody notices buffering or anything going haywire, let me know. Welcome, you guys. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all are having a fantastic weekend so far, or fantastic start to your week, as I know it is Monday morning for some of you here. Welcome, you guys. Hello, Dina. Lily B. Francis, hello. Je suis Emily. I am Emily. I love that. I love that name. Welcome. Hello, Anna. Hi, guys. Gorgeous day here in Montana. Nothing but blue skies and sunshine. Awesome. Welcome, Rose. Thank you for joining. All right. I'm excited to dive in. Another round of Q&As. Do this every Sunday, just about every Sunday. Sometimes I have an impromptu Q&A on Saturdays, but my favorite day of the week by far. Welcome. Hello, Joe. Hello, Lauren. Mimi. Hi. Goxie, Maria, Kim. Welcome. JT. Mystical. Hi, guys. Oh, yeah. I love seeing the combination of both new faces and those who join us. It's so wonderful to see, and from all different corners of the globe. Absolutely love it. We'll go ahead and get started here in just a moment. I'd like to give it just a couple seconds to let people get the notification, come on in, get comfortable, but we already have a number of questions, so I don't want to wait too long. How's y'all's weekend so far? I hope it is extra lazy and cozy. Okay. thought I noticed something weird here. Northwest Wind, hello. Guys, I made it. You made it. Welcome, Hope. Welcome. Oh, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. I love to see it. Oh my goodness. Hello, Aaron. Hello, Kat. Thanks for being with us again. My absolute pleasure. I love being here. Love hanging out with you guys. All right, let's go ahead and dive on in. We've already got about 60 people. I know that number is going to grow. You already got a number of questions rolling in. So welcome, you guys. Once again, thank you so much for being here for another live Q&As where we just hang out. I answer your questions and aim to help you get more familiar and have better understanding of the law and conscious manifestation so we can go ahead and create things as we want them to be. I'm trying to think of anything on the announcement side of things. I have my resources in the description box as always. If you are interested in any of my workshops, masterclasses, links to my coaching programs, all that good stuff is down below. Had a really fantastic opening of the waitlist over the weekend. So again, thank you guys so much for everything. I'm excited to dive on in. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started because I'm just having a lazy Sunday so far, so not too much on the news front. But let me get some caffeine in my system. More. Oh my God, it's so good. All right. Hello, Missy Renee. Could you please talk more about inner conversations with examples? Thank you. Absolutely. So inner conversation, excuse me, inner conversations are just that. It's the inner dialogue that we have going on in the mind. So when we are deliberate with our inner conversations, we're imagining it playing out that implies that we already have our desire, or that we've already it's already done, right? So, for example, if you say wanted to get a job, if there was a certain job or a promotion that you desire to have, you would imagine a conversation perhaps with your boss, or recruiting manager, whoever, and hear them congratulate you for getting the job and say you're the perfect candidate. Welcome aboard. We're happy to have you here. And you would follow up with, thank you so much. I'm excited to get started. Something along those lines. Just purely example. But we're always having these internal conversations anyways. So it's just being more deliberate with them. So whatsoever you are after, whatever it is that you desire, you are imagining a conversation that would imply and confirm that it is now complete, right? It could be a conversation with a friend, a close friend, or family member, and hearing them congratulate you over good news, whatever that might be. But yeah, we're doing this all the time, anyways. It's just utilizing it more to our benefit, because a lot of times we use inner conversations to our detriment. So yeah. Hi, Missy. What if I'm being double minded with my desire for a certain career path? Like sometimes I really want it, and sometimes I think about the downsides of that career and don't want it. Good question. Well, double mindedness is what keeps us in limbo ultimately, which is why one of the first things that we want to do is get clear on the aim, or get clear on what it is that we desire. Um, and we don't have to have exact down to a science, but if we're noticing ourselves going back and forth over a career path, a trajectory, um, it's likely going to be that we don't see any movement in any direction, right? Because we're moving in and out of states. Where one moment we're in the state of accepting that job and having that job, and the next moment we aren't. So, um, would absolutely recommend meditating on what ultimately do you want. Like, if there were no limits, if there were no conditions, if there was nothing that could stop you, perceived stop you from having the career of your dreams, what would that be? And then go there in imagination. Um, yeah, yeah, I would start with asking the question of, what do I truly want? What do I truly desire to experience? Like, what is my true calling? What am I feeling passionate about? And let yourself go there. Don't bring the conditions or qualifications, or, oh, am I good enough? Is this going to happen? Don't bring any of that with you. Just let yourself get as clear as possible on what you desire to ultimately do. If everything in our reality is a manifestation, do we actually manifest the death of the people around us? Good question. A question that comes up a lot. Are we manifesting the death of people around us? As in the self concept, the ego? No, no. Um, the conscious self, or the I like Missy Renee is not manifesting people dropping like flies around me. No. Um, that is already determined through awareness, God, essentially. That's consciousness. That is some call it the higher self, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, yeah, that's nothing that we need to feel like guilt or fear or remorse or shame around, because that's not anything that us as the human self, that's not us. I hope that makes sense. Hi, Missy. First of all, a big thank you for aw. You are so welcome, Lily. I'm doing a revision of my past. Does an event have to be revised several times, or is once enough? Once can be enough. It really depends. Um, when we want to revise until that new memory, that revised memory is what feels dominant. Like, that should be the one that comes up naturally when we think about the event that happened, right? So we wanna continue to revise. If that old memory is continuing to come up when you recall it, I would continue to revise it until it is no longer the dominant memory. You will get to a place where you may recall that that thing happened, that old story, but you're not going to feel any kind of attachment, and it's going to come as like a afterthought because the new memory, the new revised memory, is what's going to come up for you naturally first. Oh, I cannot begin to explain how much this live helps me. Not just my questions, but everyone's questions actually gives me a lot of clarity. Oh, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. Good. That's why I'm here. I'm glad. I'm glad you find it helpful. And I agree. A lot of people in this chat have fantastic questions. Um, so thank you all for being here. I don't know if you realize how much you're helping one another. So thank you. Gox has got a good question. How to revise feelings/reactions that come from the belly? I have those reactions when bad thoughts come to my mind. That's a good question. So we're not. Yes, that reaction from the belly, that physical response is usually indication. Um, it is a reaction. We would want to revise whatever thought or whatever circumstance invoked that reaction, right? So we don't need to try to revoke the feeling itself. We need to revise what caused that reaction, if that makes sense. So if you find yourself battling um, this circumstance that's not ideal and it causes you to react in a fearful way, I would revise it to where whatever the circumstance is, whatever that scenario is, um, it's now going in your favor. I hope that's making sense. Uh, but yeah, and that's not to say that we need to revise every single negative thought that comes through our mind. I would just, at the end of the day, I would revise the day to have it go the way I would have wanted it to go instead, right? So if there was anything that was not ideal, anything that was bothering us or things that we were fearful of, I would use that time at the end of the day to revise it, right? So yeah, we don't have to revise or flip or go through every intrusive thought, but we do want to revise whatever is causing that, whatever fear, whether it's a hypothetical scenario or something going on in 3D, that's what we want to revise. Yeah. I recently went through a few incidents that had me feeling somewhat low for a few days. It's not with regards to my SP, but will it affect my manifestation in any way? Good question. Um, so having a bad day in and of itself is not going to ruin your manifestation. I mean, first off, you can't ruin your manifestation because states of consciousness are eternal. Like we can't just get rid of them or anything like that. Um, as far as effect on your manifestation, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because we can have moods and still be in that knowing of our desire, right? Like I can have a bad day where I'm irritated, but still have that knowing and faith that I and SP are together, right? So not in and of itself, no, that's not going to. What can happen if we are in a crap mood, it might be we might be more susceptible to fearful thoughts and our fears and doubts. But either way, we can always come back and revise later if need be. So I wouldn't I wouldn't stress or concern myself with it. You're good. Hey, Missy, how do we not force when affirming or visualizing if the reason we do is for it to come true? Isn't that forcing? How do we do this naturally? Please explain. Good question. Good question, because this is probably the biggest area that gets us tripped up. One of the biggest areas, because we don't want to bring force into our imaginal acts. We don't want to push ourselves with these imaginal acts. These When we imagine, it should feel good. It should feel enjoyable. We should feel relaxed. If those things are not the case, if we're feeling anxious, wound up tight, and like we're trying to force something to happen, that's where we're going to hit a brick wall of resistance every time. Um, Neville wrote a whole damn chapter in The Power of Awareness on failure, failure to manifest. And it's because, and again, by failure, I mean not seeing the manifestation. Yeah, we can't ruin it. Um, but that happens because it doesn't feel natural to us. What we are imagining does not feel natural to us. And that's why, because we manifest who we believe we are and what we believe and assume to be true, right? Um, so when using affirmations or visualizing or any technique, whenever we are imagining, we want to do so from the place of enjoying the imaginal act. We want to do it from the place of what it would be like if this was now my reality, right? Um, and that's why I say often, like, we don't want to come at this with the mindset of, I need to do this to get this to happen, because that's where we apply force. Um, we're imagining to enjoy and get familiar with the feeling of it. And the key there is getting familiar with what it would be like, because that's what will leave an impression, and that is what will ultimately come to fruition, right? Um, so yeah, we just want to maybe take a different approach, or see it from a different perspective, right? Because this should not feel like a struggle. It if it feels like a struggle, then we want to pause. That's a similar question that came up. Hey, Missy, how is it that we don't give the 3D attention? Man, all of the reason we learn manifestation is to change the 3D reality. Yeah, it's a paradox. Manifestation is a paradox. That is true. Well, it's seemingly paradoxical. Like, it's not actually. It appears to be a paradox in that we want the 3D to change. That's why we're here, right? That's why everybody's here, is because we want to have a different 3D outcome, but we don't want to take the 3D into consideration. Um, well, and that's because the 3D is a reflection of us, right? The 3D is naturally following your imagination. It's always following imagination. So, whatever we are imagining, whatever we are assuming, whatever we are believing is what ultimately becomes 3D every single time without fail. So, the aim is not to change the 3D, it's to change ourself. It's to change ourself, because if we change the self, the 3D will change. It has to, it always will. So, because if we're continuing to look to the 3D, we're continuing to occupy a state of, I don't have it. I don't have it. I want this thing. I don't have this thing. And if that's what we are continuing to imagine, that's what we're going to continue to outpicture. Yeah. Good question so far. Uh, Going back up. Sorry, guys, finding my spot. Yes, it is possible to change your physical appearance. It's possible to do anything. Quite literally. If you can imagine it, you can experience it in 3D. And it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. With revising a text message, do I need to be specific and change the actual text message, or can I completely change the scene's location and set it in a hypothetical future? Yeah, yeah. Y you just to make sure I understand, you mean, do you have to literally change out the message, like, word for word? Or can you can change the location. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Good morning. What is the best way to calm the nerves when manifesting something that feels big and special to you? Thank you. Absolutely. Um, I mean, as far as how to, like, calm ourselves down, that sort of thing, any sort of practice to help alleviate anxiety, like, it breathing exercises, a lot of people swear by EFT tapping, uh, meditation, going for a walk, whatever helps us to whatever helps us naturally feel better or helps us to relax. I would introduce anything like that, and know ultimately that, again, we're just coming at this from the place of in imagination, right? The reason that we get so fearful and get very anxious is because it feels like we're trying to take on this huge task, like get the 3D to change. Um, and it feels like a huge ask, and it feels like a lot of pressure. We're under the gun. And then that's never an ideal place to dwell. It doesn't feel good, right? So I would definitely get familiar with different types of breathing techniques, breathing exercises, different types of meditation to help calm ourselves, center ourselves, like focus on getting relaxed as much as you can first before even jumping into the imaginal act. Um, yeah, because nothing is too big in imagination, right? There's nothing in your imagination that's too big for you to get or accomplish. You can do literally anything in your imagination. And that's really the mentality that we have to take. If we try to see it from the lens of I have to change the 3D, that's scary. But if I just have to play it out in my imagination, if I'm just imagining and letting myself enjoy it and letting myself experience it in here, well, that's easy. Right? That's easy because we can do anything in here. So, yeah, introduce some different techniques to help alleviate anxiety, like, as far as, like, the physical aspects, helping to calm your nervous system, slow everything down, but also ultimately know that all we're asked to do is put ourselves there in imagination and enjoy the experience of it, and anyone can do that. Hello, April. Hello. SP is MIA. I have no idea if he's coming this way to Spain. I debated if I should just ask, but I don't want to reach out. Maybe it's best if I sit back, let this all go, and focus on my end desire. Yes. Yes, it is, Kim. I absolutely concur. Yeah. Um, sit back, let the 3D go. There's nothing we can do as far as like taking actions in the 3D. That's not where our power lies, right? Let everything go. Focus on your end. Truly, truly. I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but yeah, yeah. It's going to get you much further than trying to spin your wheels. Yeah. Hey, Missy, what are responses in manifestation and do they indicate impressions? Good question. Do you mean what are like the physical responses, Danielle? Um, I think that's what you mean. I take it that's if I'm wrong though, correct me. Uh, yeah. When we imagine something and it invokes a reaction, it invokes a feeling, that indication of an impression. Yes, yes. It's a good way to gauge whether or not we did it right when imagining, which is a very common question that I get. How do I know if I did this right? How do I know if I imagined correctly, if it landed? You will typically almost always have some sort of response in the form of like a physical sensation, right? Um, like the a feeling of relief. It's kind of like a chill comes down your spine, a warmth feeling that kind of you know just spreads throughout your body from the solar plexus, things like that. Yeah, those cues can absolutely tell you if something has been impressed or not. Oh, hi, Missy. Thanks for being with us. Oh, you are so welcome, Kat. Thank you for being here. Missy, my SP unblocked me and showed up somewhere he knew I'd be and tried to say hi, but is with a third party. What are your thoughts? Well, I would drop the third party aspect for sure. I would absolutely drop that. Uh, yeah. Um, well, I mean, does it seem to be following what you've been imagining lately? Because yeah, I mean, the 3D circumstances are just the outpicturing of what we have been imagining. I'd absolutely say that, the unblocking, showing up where you'd want it to go, like, these are all good indication. I would keep going. No matter what the 3D looks like, I would continue to go and back to that end. If you fall out of that end state, continue to go back there, no matter what, and ditch the third party. Hey, I'm a new subscriber. Enjoy your content. Thank you, Jacob. Have you ever manifested in the void state and have an experience to share? Is the manifestation truly instant once you open your eyes? The void state? Um, do you mean the state of unconditioned consciousness? I take it like the awareness of being consciousness. I have absolutely been to that. I've stripped out all the other conditions of Missy Renee. I've been there. That's really what the I am meditation is for. The purpose of the I am meditation is to strip the conditions away of self, to see that you are the unconditioned consciousness. Like your awareness of being is God, and that is you, and that is me, and that is all of us. Um, Absolutely, I've had instances where I opened my eyes and the feeling was radically different. I have had instances where I opened my eyes and the scene was different. I've talked about that in videos before. Uh, but yeah, if you're talking about instant manifestation in the 3D, I would first get very, very, very good at getting the instant feeling in imagination. Like and building your trust and faith in the law. Yeah. How to feel it natural and stay in the state of the wish fulfilled when you don't believe your affirmations and see the person in real life. Thank you so much. Oh, I love you too. Thank you. So, how to feel it natural and stay in the state? Well, so number one, shutting out the 3D. If we continue to take the 3D with us into imagination, if we continue to, you know, look for all these things or bring it all into our conscious awareness, that's going to feel very difficult to do, right? Um, this is really more than anything about making your world in here, like understanding that imagination is reality. That's how we want to start to view this. Imagination is reality. The 3D is just the outpicturing of whatever we are imagining, but imagination is reality because we've all had moments in our lives, many moments where we've imagined something and it felt so damn real, right? It felt so real, regardless of the 3D. So, um, we get to that natural place. We get to that what you're describing as the Sabbath through identifying with the imaginal end scene. Like when we experience something in imagination, except it has happened and it is done, um, and continue to build your faith in the law. Yeah. But don't be discouraged if you fall out of the state of the wish fulfilled. And this goes for everybody here. Don't be discouraged if we're moving in and out of states all the time. So it is all but guaranteed, especially as we're new to this, as we're building our trust in this, as we are implementing this, it's all but guaranteed we're going to fall out of the state of the wish fulfilled from time to time. Like that's going to happen. We don't need to panic. We don't need to try to force anything. If we notice we've fallen out of the state, we can always move back. We can always move back. And it's a practice of doing just that. It's a practice of continuing to go to the end in imagination, right? The more that we start to identify with that, that is how we change the beliefs. That's how we change the assumptions and ultimately how we change the 3D. So, yeah. Greetings from Serbia. Oh, thank you for being here. Greetings. Why does the mind like to catastrophize? E.g., partner has major surgery this week and mind is coming up with the worst case scenarios. I don't give these thoughts power, just observe, but why does it do this? Yeah, it's incredibly annoying, to say the least. Um, well, our thoughts are the natural thoughts that come up for us, those intrusive thoughts, um, typically stem from whatever state of consciousness we've been occupying. But as far as why most people have bad thoughts or why they focus on the worst case scenario, it's ego, basically. Um, it almost look at it like a defense mechanism, trying to keep ourselves alive. Like we have to consider all the worst case scenarios or all the things that can go wrong to try to protect ourselves. So it's a lot of people argue it's from an evolutionary standpoint, like why it's so easy to fixate on the negative than it is the positive, which makes sense, but we ultimately don't need to accept it, right? Yeah, just like you said, we don't have to give those thoughts power. They're just thoughts. and thoughts by themselves have no power. So, yeah, we just observe. And I mean, if you notice feeling especially anxious, if you do find yourself starting to get more fearful of it, you can always go into imagination and see that everything had gone well, right? Your partner already had the surgery, everything went smooth, everything went fantastic, and is on he made a full recovery, right? But yeah. Hi, Missy. How do you really form assumptions without seeing any evidence at all, without it feeling like a lie every time you think about it? My subconscious keeps telling me that I'm wrong, even after weeks. Good question. How do you really form an assumption without seeing any evidence? We change our assumptions with our imagination. The imagination is our creative power. That is the power to be able to experience and feel into something that is opposite of 3D. Despite the 3D circumstances, we can always imagine anything, right? Doesn't matter if it's right in front of us or not, doesn't matter if it seems impossible. Nothing is impossible in imagination. Um, and we do not need to, I mean, without evidence at all from 3D? Is that what you mean? Yeah, we change our assumptions through imagining and experiencing what we desire and already being the person that we desire in imagination. And really it's a form of surrendering to that. Like allow yourself to have that experience in imagination as if it were true. As if it were true because it feels good to do that. Because it feels better to do that. Nothing to do with the 3D, not for the sake of changing the 3D, not because, this, that reason. Allow yourself to imagine something lovely and enjoy the experience as if you were happening it in the real world with big air quotes. Um, it feels like a lie because you may be trying to convince yourself that this is different in 3D, right? Like if it feels like a lie, there's still a comparison there to the 3D. Like we're trying to convince ourselves that the 3D is different than what it looks like now. And we don't have to do that. The 3D can look however it is. It can look exactly how it is. We don't need to try to convince ourselves that the 3D is different than what it looks like. We can imagine something completely different regardless though, right? And for the sake of enjoying it and imagination, we can do that too. And the act of that alone, by continuing to imagine and enjoying the experience and having that experience, subconsciously your mind is going to take that as a change within you. I hope I'm making sense. But yeah, if we continue to look to evidence in 3D, we're gonna get stuck. That's just all there is to it. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you, Chrissy. Hi, Missy. What's the difference between SATS meditation and hypnosis? Good question. So, SATS is the state akin to sleep, the acronym for state akin to sleep. So, it's just the groggy state. That's all. It's that twilight stage between wakefulness and sleep. It doesn't have anything else to do with anything. It just means you're in that twilight state. Meditation is a way to it's a controlled imagination and well sustained attention. So it's a way that we can begin to do a lot of changes internally, right? And there's different kinds of meditation. So, but it's going within. It's going within into imagination. And hypnosis is usually just a guided form of that, right? Um, Depending on the type of meditation and hypnosis, they can be similar, but the aim of hypnosis is to leave a subconscious impression. Meditation may not, so like that doesn't have to be the ultimate aim. Meditation can just be a focused attention, right? So learning to redirect your mind. It's brain training basically. Meditation is brain training. Hypnosis is uh, the aim is to leave a subconscious impression to help us to change. So yeah, SATS is just the state akin to sleep. That's just the name of the groggy state. Meditation is to help us train our mind, and hypnosis is to leave a subconscious impression. I hope that makes sense. Good question, though. Good morning. Where was I? Hello, Missy. How can I get my landlady and landlord to allow me to have a cat? Thank you so much. You can imagine sending a thank you to your landlord for allowing you to have your cat. You tell them the news that you just adopted your cat and you love him, and thank you so much for allowing me to have this wonderful animal. Something like that, right? Um, it just needs to imply that you have that permission or you are able to do so now. And that's when I first got this animal here, I lived in a place where they didn't allow pets. Nah. Nah. And my landlord at the time absolutely fell in love with this cat because she's adorable. So yeah, congrats on your new kitty. What are you drinking? Iced tea. Peach iced tea. It's my favorite drink in the whole wide world. Oh, hi, Missy. Thanks for the live. You are welcome. I want to be a stay at home mom. What can I do to manifest abundance of wealth to achieve this? I don't want my 9 to 5 job. Good question. Um, if there's something specific you have in mind, uh, like if there's a certain, like if you want to, I don't know, start your own business or do something from home, that's one thing, and you can absolutely begin to imagine from that end. But if all you're aiming to do is, leave the 9 to 5 and so you can stay at home with your kids, I would imagine a scene that implies just that. Like, what would you, what would life look like for you if you were able to stay at home all day with your kids, which in and of itself implies that all the bills are paid, everything's taken care of, right? There's no stress or worry. Um, how would that feel? What would that be like? We don't have to know exactly how that shows up. We don't have to know the avenues in which this desire is going to unfold, like how that abundance is going to come to us. That's not our job. We just want to start to get pictured and familiar with what living in the end of that would be like, right? So, would you travel with your kids? Would you, go, would you homeschool? Like, what things could imply that you no longer have to be at this 9 to 5 job? And we can get creative with this. We can get absolutely creative. We don't need to, we don't have to get creative with the how. We just have to get creative with what we would be doing from the place of already having what we want, right? So, yeah. I like how this has become a routine for my Sunday evenings. Oh, yeah, me too. Me too. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Aw. Hey, Missy, I love your SP masterclass. Before I was wavering, do I still want my SO or not? For now, I am enjoying my life and knowing he's my man. Just see what surprises life will bring me then. Aw, wonderful, HJ. I'm glad you enjoy. I'm glad you enjoy. That's amazing. Thank you. I enjoy inner conversations, but I struggle to hear people's voices in my imagination. It doesn't bother me, so does it matter? Thanks, Missy. You're amazing. Oh, you're amazing too, April. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be the exact replication of somebody else's voice. As long as you know who it is that you're having a dialogue with in imagination, that's all that matters. I mean, because ultimately, it's not their voice. It's your voice, right? Like, even if you were imagining somebody else's voice, it's still your voice. So as long as you have a knowing of who that person is that you're talking to in your mind, that's all that matters. Missy, what was the key in maintaining your SP long term? uh, what was the key in maintaining my husband, you mean? Understanding that this is all imagination. Not taking to the 3D to fix things, not taking to the 3D to try to solve problems or go into detective like, I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that, truly. Understanding the law and having faith in the law. Yeah, that's the long and short of it. And it helps that he doesn't suck. He's a pretty cool dude. Hey, Missy, could you speak more about money and financial mindset? I'm an actor, but find I go between the end of I am successful actor to 3D panic of I need money yesterday. Yeah. 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 I certainly bounce back and forth between those states for a long time too. When it comes to abundance, when it comes to money, what helped me considerably was I stopped trying to manifest money and instead of imagining for the money, I just allowed myself to imagine what it would feel like if I now had all the money in the world, right? Like, it was the feeling that I was after ultimately, and that was my realization. It wasn't the money itself that I wanted the feeling that the money gives us, right? The feelings of, relief, feeling of security, the feeling of freedom. That was what I ultimately wanted, not the paper itself. Once I made that change in perspective, because I was able to conjure a feeling of relief and begin to imagine and play with the idea of what it would be like to be completely free, never have to worry about another bill again. Like, that experience in imagination, anybody can get to. I mean, it might look different for everybody, but ask yourself, how would it feel? How would it be if you never had to worry about money again? If you had more than enough money to last 100 lifetimes, how would that feel? What would you do? How would a day look like in your life? What would be some of the things that you would go for, right? Would you travel? Would you get a nice big house? Would you donate to your favorite charities? Would you open up a new business? Would you start a new business? Would you, uh, yeah, get a private jet? Like, what is it that you desire? And how would it feel if? How would life be different as that version of you? And just construct and play and just continue to play. That is our power. Happy Sunday on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you for being here. Is it possible that a manifestation could happen twice? Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Is affirmations enough to manifest? That depends. That depends. Mhm. Do they resonate with you? Do the affirmations resonate with you? Are they able to help you feel into that desired state? Do you enjoy doing them? Or does it make you feel stressed out? Does it make you feel burned out? Are you getting sick to death of them? Um, it depends. Hello from Liverpool. Hello. Hello, Paul. Thank you for being here. I just want to say hi and thank you for everything you do. Oh, thank you, Mariana. Thank you. There's nothing wrong with assuming that it's going to happen. In 3D, yeah. 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 Well, as far as the 3D is concerned, which we don't want to concern ourselves with it too much, but as far as we're concerned, of course it's going to happen. If it's already done, then it must happen, right? Just like putting an order online. When we place an order online, it's done. It is complete. But yeah, you are correct, John. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you have any pets? Show us. I have I have a big fat kitty sleeping. She actually graced me with her presence today. She usually doesn't come in here because she's a queen. She's sleeping, and then I also foster kittens, little baby kittens. One of them might become a foster fail. I don't know. My husband really fell in love with one of them, and I'm like, ugh. But yeah, so far one cat. She is the resident. This is her house. Where was my spot? Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find where I was. I have so much to revise. It's going to take weeks. Oh, no, no, no. It's okay. It's going to be okay. I know a lot of, there can be a lot of resistance to the idea of revision, or there could be some aversion to the idea of revision. Um, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Oh my God. There's a reason I stress it so much. Good morning, Missy. Good morning. I finally had my aha moment when I realized to go within my imagination. However, because of certain heavy circumstances, I'm still having some resistance. Any tips? Absolutely. Good question. You're having resistance to going into imagination. If that's the case, it's likely because you're taking the 3D circumstances in with you into imagination, right? You, you're you're gauging your imaginal acts based on the 3D circumstances and whether or not this is possible, is this going to happen, da 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 da. We don't ever want to do that. We don't have to do that because we can do anything in our imagination, no matter what. Literally doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Like if I wanted an SP and he lived on the other side of the world and hated my guts, in imagination, we can already be married. Does not matter. But because we are conditioned so much by the 3D, we take all these conditions of the 3D and say, "No, I can't imagine that. No, I can't. That can't happen." Don't limit yourself in imagination ever. Ever, ever, ever. Ever. How do I truly enjoy slash become immersed slash identify an imagination and not rely on the 3D to satiate certain experiences I seek? How to make it more real? Good question. And it absolutely is a practice. It absolutely is a practice because of course the 3D feels more real, right? The 3D we've identified reality with 3D for our whole lives. So I mean naturally that's going to be a thing, right? That's gonna be a thing. Um, with practice, it becomes flipped so that the imagination starts to become more real, and the 3D just feels like make believe. It feels because it's a shadow. It's literally just the outpicturing. Um, yeah, but it takes practice. It really does. I don't know what your day-to-day routine, if you have a routine, how you enjoy imagining, if you have certain exercises or techniques that you enjoy, that I don't know, but I would absolutely recommend introducing meditation into your practice if you haven't already. Um, yeah, lots of meditation. If you think you're meditating too much, you're not meditating enough. Did I miss a super chat? I think I missed this. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Chrissy. My bad. Thank you for that super chat. I appreciate you. Does our manifestation still happen even after we've fallen out of the state of the wish fulfilled? Um, maybe? Are are you asking if it's like are we unable to uproot it? Is that what you mean? Like if we leave an impression, is it guaranteed to happen even if we uproot it? Or even if we've fallen out of the state? Mm. That's why we want to practice going back there. That's why this is a practice of continuing to go back because it's all but guaranteed for literally everyone. We're gonna fall out of that state. We're gonna fall out of that state and wind up reverting back to the old dominant state because that's what we do subconsciously. We're always ultimately moving back to whatever state is dominant. So that's why we want to continue. That's where the idea of persistence comes from. Like persist in continuing to go back to the end, back to that state of the wish fulfilled in imagination until we are no longer falling out of that state. Hello, David. JT, I think I'm thoroughly confused by a question. If all states exist, then isn't there a state we manifested doing everything wrong, like resistance and double mindedness? How would you go there? How do we go to the state where we're doing everything wrong? I don't recommend you doing that. I have to be misunderstanding your question, JT. Um, yeah, yeah. Unless we're complete masochists, I don't recommend going back to the state where we're doing everything wrong. Where was my spot? If you start to worry that you may have planted an unwanted seed, how to stop it before possibly manifesting and not having a back and forth, I'm in control to, oh no, what if this happens mindset. So if you start to worry that you've impressed something undesirable, if you've reacted negatively, revision. That is what will uproot the seed. That is what will undo the subconscious impression. Can we have a tutorial of your eye makeup? I keep forgetting. I promised you guys a while ago that I was going to do a tutorial. I need to make a note of that because I will forget. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Where'd my pan go? I'm literally going to write that down. Tutorial. Thank you so much. I will do that for you guys. I've had a lot of requests for that, and thank you. Hello, Aries. You've been trying to catch me for 3 weeks. You caught me. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Where was I am so lost. Sorry guys. I try to keep it in order. I try to keep it in order. But sometimes that just doesn't happen because bouncing around a lot. After you revise something, how should you think after? Also, my neighbors towed my old car yesterday. How to revise that I ended up selling my car instead? Good question. After you revise something, you should note that it's the new memory that comes up naturally. Um, that's how you know that that's been planted, right? So if you recall the events, it should be the new memory that pops up. Um, and as far as how to revise what happened yesterday, um, imagine a bill of sale. I would imagine a bill of sale, or imagine having a conversation with somebody, feeling that relief that the car was sold, right? Something along those lines. Yeah. Whatever would imply that the car is now sold. Yeah. I have lately, when meditating using I am, had tiny glimpses and realizations of my true inner power and capabilities. This has thrown me out of the meditation because it's so scary. Why am I afraid? Ah, John, I love it. Yup. Yup. Um, because it's the ego that's terrified is what's happening. The I am meditation is ultimately to strip away the conditions of self. It's to strip back the ego and allow yourself to get to the unconditioned consciousness, that awareness of being that is God. Um, and when that happens, our ego flips the frick out because it feels like a death of sorts, right? Yeah. Neville even warns about it when he talks about the Aya meditation in that chapter. He warns, like, do not be afraid. You're not dying to anything except your old self, basically. So yeah. And that happened to me a few times. It took some tries of getting there because whenever I started to feel that sensation like I was dropping and expanding, scared the living crap out of me, and it threw me completely out of it. Yeah, that will subside. That is the ego. You have nothing to fear, truly. But those tiny glimpses are amazing, aren't they? They are amazing. How can I stop blaming myself that I manifested SP blocked me after no contact for a month? Could it be of too much resistance and manifesting from a place of lack? What should I do now? Thank you. Yeah, uh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, we don't ever need. I know this is easier said than done, of course, but blaming ourselves helps no one. Like, quite literally, it is pointless. It is not going to serve anyone, it's not gonna help anyone, it's certainly not gonna help you to blame yourself for whatever happened. If we moved into an unwanted state that was completely unintentional, obviously you did not do it intentionally, that's okay. It happens. It happens to everyone. There's no need for blame. There's no need. If anything, it's just gonna make us feel even worse. Absolutely no use for it. Yeah, coming from a place of resistance and lack, yeah, we manifest what we ultimately feel and believe is true. So we could be saying and doing one thing, we could be saying affirmations all day, but if genuinely we are feeling fearful and all of these terrible what ifs and worst case scenarios, that's yeah, yeah. I don't even need to finish that, but you can always turn it around, though. Here's the thing, no matter what happens in the 3D, no matter even if it's the absolute worst case scenario does appear, does materialize in 3D, you can always change it no matter what. No matter what. So who cares? None of that matters. Because we can always continue to go back to imagination. You can go back to here, already being back with SP. What would that be like? What would that feel like? What would the two of you be doing together? How would you be enjoying each other's company? Do you have dreams and goals and aspirations of the future together? Like, build that world in imagination. Like, leave the 3D out. Leave it out. All right? You got this. You got this. No matter what. Thank you so much. Is consciously claiming I am rich the voice of God, and anything after that, the ego either agreeing or disagreeing. And if my inner talk matches this I am statement, then I am in the wish fulfilled. You are correct. You are correct. So whatever follows th- I am is God, right? The I am is awareness. That is consciousness. We all say I am. Everybody has this awareness of being. That is God. Whatever we put after that I am is the conditions. That's the ego. That is the conception of self. That's our self concept. So saying I am rich is your unconditioned consciousness conditioned as being wealthy, right? So you're assuming the state of wealth. That's God playing out the role of wealth by saying, I am rich. Same thing for anything else. So whatever comes after the I am and is believed, like what we believe, that is what becomes expressed. So, yes. Um, when your inner talking matches that I am statement, then you are in the wish fulfilled. That is correct. Yes. And if we don't believe that statement, if we do not believe that that I am statement, then we want to imagine ourselves. We want to continue to imagine ourselves as the person who is now embodying this state until the inner talking does start to match. Yeah, that's exactly right. Thought of a friend I hadn't talked to in years, accepted that they were gone forever. They texted 3 days later and didn't intend for a text at all. How does this happen? Accepting the 3D seems to be the key. Um, well, what happened was you brought someone up in imagination, um, and then you dropped it, right? You didn't think after that. Oh, are they going to message me or are they not going to message me? Like there, you weren't double minded in what you were imagining there. So you brought someone up in consciousness, didn't fight it, you were not double minded about it, and then they reached out. So essentially, that what you did there is a form of detachment. I hope that makes sense. What is the difference between thinking and imagining? Good question. Thinking is a form of imagining. Imagination is your inner world. Imagination is everything that is happening and taking place up here, right? It's our thoughts, it's our inner dialogues, it's mental pictures, it's our memories, it's hypothetical scenarios of the future. Whatever is taking place in the mind internally is imagination, right? Um, so thoughts are a byproduct of whatever state of consciousness you've been occupying, whatever beliefs and assumptions you have. Your thoughts are just the byproduct of that. So if I have the beliefs that I am not chosen, I'm unloved, anything like that, then the thoughts that naturally come up for me are going to be reflective of that. But if I change that, my thoughts will change. If we change the beliefs and assumptions, the thoughts will change. Yeah. When people refer to SP, I think of my ideal client in business. I have a big struggle with trying to get to try I have a big struggle with trying things to get clients. I can't shake trying to figure out strategies. Yeah. No, that's a common one. W- We're conditioned to take action, right? Virtually everyone is conditioned to the need to take action. We've all been taught and told that if we want to get a certain outcome, if we have a desire for something, that we need to go get it. We need to take action for it. That is deeply ingrained in most people. So it is a bit of an unlearning of that to get familiar with the law because it's basically most things that we were taught is polar opposite of what we want to be approaching and what we want to be doing. Um, yeah, so there is a bit of a curve where we're getting familiar with a new way of thinking. and a new way of being. There's gonna be that initial urge to take action or figure out how or figure out strategies, go into detective mode. That will subside as you continue to build your faith and as you continue to strengthen your imagination, as you continue to exercise it, because it very much works like a muscle. Um, but yeah, it does get easier, I promise. Hi, Missy. Do you think being on social media or on your phone a lot can impact your manifesting ability? Or is that just a limiting belief? Good question. It depends. It depends. I mean, if being on social media is causing you to react in a way that's not ideal, if it's causing you to feel ways that are not great, or if it is hindering you from going to the end and living in the end, then it can be. Um, but it doesn't have to be. It isn't inherently on its own going to hinder our manifestation, right? Like going onto social media by itself is not what's going to hinder your manifestation. It's how we are reacting to it, what we are assuming and believing, right? Um, that said, if social media is hindering you, if it is feeling like it's keeping you in a place that's not ideal here, um, never hurts to take a break. Never hurts to take a break. Hey, Missy, I love your content. Oh, thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Sometimes it hits me like, is the law even real? I don't know why, but my mind is sort of not ready to put in the work for manifestation, maybe because it's scared of failure. Please help. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really common fear. A lot of people in the community are scared to go all in because of the fear of failure. And I certainly had that too. I was terrified. Like, if it doesn't happen, then what? Which is not a pleasant feeling, of course. Um, which is why it is so important to continue to, through self observation, through just the act of self observation, by being mindful of what we are imagining, what we are thinking throughout the day to day, what we are assuming, and also what's happening in the world around us, like the 3D and the circumstances, we will be able to see that the 3D always follows what we are imagining. Like, if I imagine something and I believe it, I assume it, and it leaves an impression, um, I will see that reflected in 3D. So perhaps it's just that you need to build your faith a bit more in the law. But the last thing that I wanted to note is that I wouldn't put this as like putting in the work to manifest. We're always manifesting, and it's the most natural thing in the world. We're not working hard to manifest all the terrible things that we don't want, right? Um, I just had to note that really quick because I want to separate this idea from having to work hard and manifesting, right? Because that can get us stuck. But yeah, nobody can prove that the law is real except you. So don't ever take my word for it. Don't ever take anyone's word for it. Don't just blindly accept that what I'm saying is true. Like, test this, test this, and that goes for everybody here. Test it, prove it wrong, or prove it right. That's going to make things exponentially easier. Hi, Missy. What to do about the thoughts that you're wasting your time on manifestation as the time in 3D is passing, especially on bad days? Thank you. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've certainly had that experience. I know a lot of people have. What do we do about those thoughts? I mean, well, first, I don't see how it is a waste of time to imagine something lovely. I don't ever see that as a waste of time. Where the alternative would be what? Us imagining terrible things? Is that more productive? Is that better for us somehow? So how would it be and that's another reason why I say, like, we wanna change the perspective of how we're looking at this. Because if we're looking at this like, "I need to do this to get this, and I need to wait for it to see if it works," that's where those types of thoughts come from. Instead, we just wanna look at it as we're practicing imagining things that are lovely and letting ourselves enjoy the experience of doing just that, and that's never a waste of time. When the alternative is to imagine something shitty, for lack of better words, how is that productive? You know? So, yeah, sometimes what ultimately broke me out of that was changing the perspective of how I was looking at this. Yeah. I've manifested important things for myself without doing techniques, just telling myself it's done. But to manifest my SP, I do the techniques, but the doubts keep coming back. Do you have any tips? Absolutely. Yeah. We don't need to do techniques. um, we we've been manifesting this whole time without ever doing affirmations or sats or anything like that. Um, they're there as tools to help us if need be. Um, but yeah, just telling yourself it's done and knowing that to be true is more than enough. But if we don't think that it's true, if we doubt the process, that's why we struggle because it's not the techniques that are ever going to be the thing that makes it manifest. What is going to be the thing that makes it manifest is changing our assumption about whatever the circumstance is. Um, so as far as any tips, make sure that you are resonating with your imaginal acts. Make sure that you are enjoying your imaginal acts. Um, make sure that you are letting yourself feel deeply into them for the sake of enjoying them. That is the absolute best use of your time. Yeah. That I am meditation sure is powerful, isn't it though? Amen to that, Sarah. Watching from Argentina. Wow. Thank you for being here. Welcome. I love how many people here from all corners of the globe. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. Daydreaming versus imagination. Could you briefly explain? Absolutely. Well, again, daydreaming is taking place in imagination. Um, but the, the big difference with imagining the wish fulfilled and daydreaming is with daydreaming, not, we're coming at it in a way that implies separation of the desired state. So, for example, I can imagine something lovely. I can be on the beach with my SP and he's proposing and it's lovely, it's beautiful, and all that. But then I come out of it and I'm like, yeah, if only. That's never going to happen. Right. So there's that element of separation. There's that element of maybe someday in the future, but that's not going to happen. right? That's daydreaming. Like it's a lovely thought, but it's not realistic. That's daydreaming. Um, Imagining the end, imagining the wish fulfilled is taking the future over here, placing it right now in imagination. So you are in the present tense, living as the person you desire to be in imagination. So that's the difference. So one of daydreaming is thinking of it from the place of I am separate and I don't have it. Imagining the wish fulfilled is thinking from it as it's already done. Oh, hello, Bev. Hello. Saying hello from Australia to everyone, feeling one in consciousness with all. You are absolutely lovely, Bev. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Hi, Missy. Is it important to heal our limiting beliefs in order to manifest? If we don't revise our limiting beliefs, would the manifestation not sustain? So, is it important to heal or well, if we struggle with living in the end, right? If there feels to be a lot of resistance based on past circumstances, based on what happened in the past, then I absolutely recommend revision. Neville did the same. He recommended revision countless times. Um, if it feels like we're stuck from the old past circumstances, like we cannot even imagine ourselves to be a certain way because the past said otherwise. Yeah, but um, healing our limiting beliefs, that is a very broad stroke term, which that can mean anything. We heal our limiting beliefs through imagining something different, like identifying ourselves with something more desirable instead, right? Identifying with the state of I am loved versus the state of nobody loves me. I hope that made sense, and I hope that answered your question. Um, because the act alone, the act of imagining alone, like as we imagine and identify ourselves with the desired outcome, in and of itself implies that we no longer have those limiting beliefs. Is how could we have those limiting beliefs and be in the state of the wish fulfilled? Though those two things are not compatible. Hi, Misty. How would you change your relationship to pain and symptoms during the day? I'm manifesting perfect health and relief from chronic condition. So, how to manifest relief from pain during the day? I take it that's your question. So, the way that I had to approach that when I was dealing with my health issues, when I was in pain, like when I had flare ups and I was physically in pain, from that place felt damn near impossible to try to imagine something that felt good. Like if I was in a lot of pain, there was not much I can do except ride that wave. Do things to help alleviate that pain, of course, like try to take care of myself to the best of my ability. Um, but it was the moments where I was not in pain. So in the day to day, when I was not in pain, when I was feeling okay, when I had those moments of feeling, yeah, good or just all right even, I would take advantage then. You know, that's when I would really go all in and imagine myself in the state of perfect health and really be able to feel into it and really being able to tap into it. Because if we are in a crap load of pain, trying to imagine feeling good from that state is going to feel impossible to do. Um, so we don't wait until we are in pain to imagine the state of health. We want to make sure to really take advantage when we are feeling okay, or at least those breaks that we get in the day. I hope I'm making sense. Yeah. What's a more modern way of saying "Isn't it wonderful"? I find that "wonderful" isn't a word used much these days, not really in my vocab. Good question. Yeah, and we can absolutely use any term that resonates with us. We don't have to say "Isn't it wonderful," because that is bit of an outdated phrase, of course. It could be anything. Like, what how would you say something that was awesome? Like, if you're experiencing all these amazing things, like, what would you be saying? How would you be describing it? Like "This is amazing. Fuck yeah, this is awesome. I am so excited." Anything like that. Excuse my French. But, yeah, make it yours. Make it uniquely something that you would say if you were now experiencing all these amazing things happening. Yeah. Isn't it brilliant? Yep, yep. Can you talk about your client who got her SP after 25 years? That's so amazing. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I mean, without giving away too much information, I certainly don't wanna dox the person. But yeah, well, a lot of you may know the interview that I did with Haley, who manifested her person back after 15 years of no contact. But I did have a client that manifested after 25 years. They were high school sweethearts or college sweethearts. I don't recall, but they ended up parting ways. That one of them had to move. Something happened. They ended up parting ways. Obviously, got married, continued living their life, but never got over this person. Um, but the issue, and client was recently divorced and wanting to manifest their person back. Of course, struggle with the idea, struggle with the belief, as everyone does, as we all do. Um, but regardless, in here, every night she fell asleep next to her person, and the unfolding was absolutely wild. I don't wanna say too much because that is gonna be another story that comes out. That's gonna be, trying to see about doing an interview for that one as well. But yeah, yeah. It was because despite the SP not being on social media, despite not knowing anything about where they were, that's why I say the circumstances never matter. They never matter, ever. And time doesn't matter either, clearly. My imaginative acts feel as real as reality. Is this normal? Is this a positive sign forward? I wake disappointed, however, I am still in my home and not in this other reality. Yes. Yes, that's it, Libby. Yeah, that's normal and ideal. Ideal. Yeah. Yeah. When you open your eyes and you're like, "What the hell am I doing in my room? I was just somewhere else entirely." Like that sort of feeling? Yeah, that's good. That's good. And your imaginative acts feel as real as reality because they are. They are real. They are reality. Yes. That is the point. Keep going. Which one is better, sats or scripting? That depends. That's gonna be different for everybody. There's no better technique, like, there is no holy grail technique that's gonna work for everyone equally all the time. Not a thing. Some people resonate more with imagining in the state akin to sleep. Some people are able to live in the end through scripting. Gonna be different for everyone. Yeah. It's har when people ask me, like, "What's the best technique?" What works for me may bring up a whole lot of resistance for you, and it's why I stress experimenting with different imaginal acts, different ways of imagining, different techniques. Really play around and see what really takes hold and resonates best for you. Like, what helps you to best capture that feeling? That's the best technique for you. Yeah. Screaming at the success after 25 years. Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. Yeah, I cried. I cried for her. That was amazing. And the way that the bridge unfolded, never, ever could have consciously never could have consciously conceived it. I've gotten better at feeling abundant more often, but on days that I don't feel as strong a connection, it feels like I'm off track in contrast to the days that feel great. Do you have tips for this? Good question. That's normal. Uh, and the first thing I'd recommend is don't panic. Don't ever panic. Some days are gonna feel better than others, and that's okay. Like, just because we have a day where perhaps the connection's not as strong, we're not feeling it as much, that's okay. That's normal. That's normal. We're always moving in and out of states and occupying a new state to the point where it becomes dominant, to the point where it becomes fixed and normal for us. We're gonna notice those on and off days. That's going to happen. That's where persistence comes in. So long as we keep persisting, going back to that state of the wish fulfilled, that it will become second nature for you. Yeah. Hi, Missy. I have over 150 life events throughout my life to revise. Is it important to revise before going to bed or waking up? Can I apply these revisions with your revised meditation during the day? Good question. Yeah, you can revise anytime. Anytime. It doesn't just have to be in those windows before bed and waking up in the morning. Though I do 100,000% recommend that we take advantage of those windows, right? That when we are in that drowsy state, we want to be taking advantage of that, allowing ourselves to feel into that desired reality to the best of our ability. But you can absolutely revise in the day to day. 100%. Yeah. I got time for maybe one or two more. What was the key in getting past your sadness? You went through a lot. What was the anchor? What was the key in transcending it? Whew, good question. Good question. It was a combination of my desire more than anything was to get out of hell. It felt like I was in hell. And honestly, I hit a point where my imagination became my place of refuge. It became my sanctuary. Um, that was where I could have something that felt good, even if it was just imagination. Um, so that aspect, of course, helped to propel me forward. And self inquiry. Um, through Neville's teachings, I found non duality. I found self inquiry, understanding that this self that is Missy Renee, like this being, this human being with all her beliefs and assumptions and fears and dreams and goals, um, that's not who I really am. I mean, yes, that is an aspect of consciousness, but that's not definitively who I am. Um, so those two things really were my anchors. Yeah, it's a good question though. Your confidence in the law gives me confidence too. Oh, thank you, Pragya. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you discuss no contact and how to improve techniques if not seeing movement? Well, the issue isn't improving the well, it's not so much about improving techniques as we have to stop looking to the 3D. We have to stop taking the 3D into consideration. That is what will continue to spit us out of that desired state. That's what will continue to put us back into the state that we don't want. If the 3D is not ideal and we continue to identify with that, we continue to see it and say, yep, this is true, we won't see change. So, this really is a practice of going inwards. This is an internal practice, no matter what. Yes, we live in an external reality. Of course, we want to experience our desires in 3D. And that naturally follows. Like the 3D follows your imagination like the moon follows the sun. It, it must happen. But if we continue to look outside of ourselves and identify and confirm that this unwanted thing is here or this wanted thing is not here, that's how we continue to stay stuck. So practice shutting the 3D out. This is a practice of going within. When you close your eyes to go within, the 3D doesn't exist anymore, is how we have to look at it. And really begin to identify with that inner self, with the inner man, as Neville would call it, the imagination. Yeah. And of course, this takes getting used to. This is a radically new way of thinking. These are radical teachings versus what we have been taught and what we believe naturally. But continue to do so. Continue to go within. This is internal practice first, foremost, in all ways. Yeah. On that note, you guys, I do have to get going, unfortunately. But thank you all so much for being here today. I had a lot of fun, fantastic questions to the lot of you. I hope to see you here next Sunday. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the weekend or start to the week, wherever you may be. Much love to each of you. And until next time, take care, guys.